Hi, this is The Greatest Story Ever Played. I'm Dan.
I'm Jordan.
And today we're going to be talking about The Outer Worlds.
Yeah, awesome. Really fun game. Before we get any farther, just want to give you guys a heads up. I'm recovering from a flu cold thing. Not COVID. Got tested negative. Great. But I have a slight cough, so the more I talk, the more I might cough. So I'm going to do my best to hide that. But just apologies ahead of time if there's some rando coughs going on. It's just me. So yeah, cool. So jumping in, description here is lost in transit while on a colonist ship bound for the furthest edge of the galaxy. You awake decades later than you expected, only to find yourself in the midst of a deep conspiracy threatening to destroy the Halcyon colony. As you explore the furthest reaches of space and encounter a host of factions all vying for power, who you decide to become will determine the fate of everyone in Halcyon. In the corporate equation for the colony, you're the unplanned variable. Welcome to the future. Try not to break it. Yeah.
And then a little background on the game is it was developed by Obsidian Entertainment, who are known for a lot of games, but some highlights being Fallout New Vegas, Pillars of Eternity, Knights of the Old Republic 2, stuff like that. I know you're definitely a big New Vegas guy.
Oh, huge. Yeah, that's, I think, yeah, it's probably my favorite Fallout game. It's so fun. It's so good. And I've never played Coder, or I don't know how you say the acronym, but Knights of the Old Republic 2. But I heard it was really good. And I think they're making another one, so I'll definitely play that.
Yeah, I've heard those games are great. I really wish that I could get the first one. It sounds like the first one is like up there, like top tier kind of game. But I think it's old enough that it's not really on anything new, like even remasters.
Yeah, I think the second one got remastered on maybe 360 or PS3, which now you can play on Xbox Ones or PS4s, but I don't know if it's worth it. So yeah, I feel like a remaster on an old console that's ported to a new console can't be great, but you never know.
Right, you'd think it would just end up being kind of rough. But yeah, that's a little background on the game itself. So this game, the way it's set up is, I would say, pretty similar to Mass Effect, where you have a crew of people, potential companions, and two of them go with you on missions, and you go through different planets and all of that stuff. So I think before we get into the game, I think talking about the companions is important, and so we asked this question: who were your favorite companions? So who were yours?
The Pervardi was my absolute favorite companion, and then I also liked Felix, but I didn't really try a whole lot of companions after those two. So like I definitely Pervardi was my favorite. I did all her backstory quests. Felix I did some, but the other ones I just didn't really use a whole lot. So my second one for Felix is kind of just a throwaway answer. So my real answer is just Pervardi is my favorite companion, which I think is pretty universally agreed upon that she's the coolest. But yeah, they were both really cool.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so for you, was Felix kind of the guy you had around most often, but it was sort of, you kind of throw other ones in occasionally, but it was mostly him?
Yeah, yeah. Mostly, I think I liked his like combat, or his like companion buff was helpful for combat, and I just liked having a third guy to shoot things for me. So
Right.
that's like the only reason I had him around. I didn't necessarily like him or dislike him. The things I liked about him was he was kind of his character was like a guy who was just excited to be out and exploring stuff. So he was just really excited to journey with you and shoot things and have fun. So I liked that about him. But other than that, there was like nothing, in my opinion, that was like, he didn't blow me away with his backstory or anything like that.
Sure. Okay, cool. No, that's awesome. Like you, Pervardi was my favorite as well. Yeah, like you said, I'm pretty sure that's universal. I think she's probably on everyone's favorites. She was always on all of my missions. She was my favorite. She was great. And then I used Ellie quite a lot as my kind of second companion. She was the medic. You pick her up at Groundbreaker, and she's like sassy and stuff like that. So she was pretty fun. I had her a good amount. I also used Nyoka quite a bit. Once I got Ellie, I ended up using her more than Nyoka, but I used Nyoka a lot before I got Ellie. And Nyoka is like a bounty hunter, and she's a badass. And
Okay.
and her
I do remember her vaguely.
and her side story is really good. Yeah, that's I guess also something in this game, which yours might be different, or how you did it might be different than mine. But you can get up to 6 companions, but you don't have to get them all. Like I actually missed Ellie and Sam at first, and I went back and like figured out where they were and got them. So you can really play the game, probably ending up only with a couple of the companions. Like it'd be hard to not get Pervardi unless you start the game pretty chaotically.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's pretty easy to have her on your team, and then Nyoka is like a non-negotiable. You have to meet her for a mission, but I think the other 4 you could miss out on if you didn't want them. So, yeah, kind of interesting.
Yeah, I definitely remember Sam, for sure. I did later on in the game. Vicar, Max, I feel like him and Felix and Sam, from what I remember, I went out of my way to talk to them and try to recruit them. So I don't think definitely didn't have to do that.
Yeah,
I've already more felt like it just kind of happened naturally.
Right. Yeah, hers happened naturally. Yeah, I didn't realize that Sam, the robot, was just in a back room on the ship for a while, and I was like, where are the other companions? And then I looked up a guide. It was like, oh, he's in there. Have Pervardi fix him. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those are our answers. We'll go through some ones we got from listeners. Ben on Twitter said, there's surely only one answer to this, Pervardi. Yep, agreed.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of those answers. But Nikki on Twitter said, Pervardi, my sweet bean.
And then Manuel said Pervardi and Ellie, so same as me.
Mm-hmm. Rez on Twitter said Pervardi.
Tom on Twitter said Ellie was all around cool, but Vicar Max had some badass lines for his special. Yeah, I did a side quest that was a Vicar Max one, and he was cooler than I thought when I met him. I think he would have been fun to have as a primary. I didn't really use him aside from his quest, though.
Yeah, I didn't really use him either. Yeah, seems like worth maybe going back and trying some of these other characters out, though, which would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Fusro on Twitter said, Pervardi and Max by a mile. They had interesting story arcs, great voice actors, and super useful in-combat abilities.
Mm-hmm. Brockers on Reddit said, my favorite companions were Ellie and Vicar Max.
Warden on Reddit said, my favorite companion was Pervardi.
Yochlo on Reddit said, Vicar Max has a special sort of dad vibe that I enjoyed, as well as having an interesting storyline. Felix is my most favorite because he maintains a lot of sort of childlike wonder and hope no matter what happens.
Yeah, I like that about Felix too.
Mm-hmm.
Apes Tech on Reddit said Nyoka and Pervardi. I feel like I'm butchering her name every time I say it. But yeah, Nyoka is such a badass. I love watching her chug her beer as she fires off a heavy machine gun. I also find her companion story very interesting. Pervardi is Pervardi.
Yep. And then Gerard on Reddit says, Pervardi has to be my clear favorite among companions. Charming, positive, funny. I don't think it was a mistake that she was so front and center. I agree. Also voiced by Ashley Birch, who is fantastic, who we know and love from Life is Strange and Horizon Zero Dawn and all that good stuff. So Pervardi's great. They continue. They say, the Vicar's dry snark is fun for a while. I didn't think any of the robot humor with Sam really worked, though. He didn't make me laugh at all. Nyoka was interesting with her quest. Ellie's standoffishness made her hard to like. Felix was just there. So, a good summary for them of how they felt about the different characters. So, that's the potential team you can have, and every mission, anytime you go anywhere, you can have any combo of the two of them. They each have their different abilities or natural skill sets, stuff like that, which can help you in different instances. Like Vicar Max is good at lock picking, and so when I needed a lock picked, I had him and he helped boost my stats for that. Or Pervardi is a good mechanic, so she can fix things. Your medical goes up when you have Ellie with you, etc. So you can kind of set your team based on the lineup you want, or how your character is and what you want boosted up, or just who you like. There's really a lot of options.
Yeah, which is, I think, is pretty cool. Yeah, I think there's a companion for each sub skill, or I don't know what you'd call it, other skill you can have, which I think they did well.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Sam actually too. He was behind Felix. He was one of my other favorites. I actually liked his humor. I thought he was pretty funny. He's just a robot, but he always talked about cleaning stuff up, which he meant just murdering things, which was great. That was pretty funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's funny. I never ended up using him. I just made him come alive and be part of my crew, and I talked to him once or twice on the ship, but I never took him out. So maybe I should have. Cool. Okay. Now we'll, I guess, get into what the game itself actually is. So first, the game begins, and you create your character. So you can create what they look like. You can choose what kind of job they have or would have on the colony, and then that sort of indicates what stats will be higher when you start, stuff like that. The game begins, you finish your character creation, and it begins by you getting woken up on the Hope by Dr. Phineas Wells. And Wells enlists you in his plan to challenge the board. So you've been, frozen in this ship for hundreds of years, and when your ship got here, the board more or less decided, well, we don't really have anything to do for these people. We can't use them right now, so we'll just leave them in space. And, we'll deal with it someday. And
pretty fucked up.
Yeah, definitely shitty. And Phineas Wells is sort of this renegade rogue scientist kind of guy. And so he figures out you're there and figures out that the ship is there, and is like, okay, well, maybe I'll try to release several of these passengers to be able to help me, and you're the one that works out, and so you're thrust into this kind of new world, learning about it just like your character is, because your character has never done any of this either. They left Earth a couple hundred years ago planning to be here, so it's kind of a wild thing you're getting thrown into just to start off.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I feel like there's not a lot of overhead, but definitely some overhead figuring out what the hell is going on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think they gave you enough information about what was going on, but I was definitely very interested in the backstory and the lore behind the board and these planets and that kind of stuff. So I thought they did that pretty well.
I agree. I was like, what the hell's going on? But I wanted to know more. So I agree. I think they nailed that as an opener, as to okay, what's everything happening? And so what happens is, from here, is you get sent out in a escape pod to a planet called Emerald Vale, and you're supposed to meet up with one of Phineas Wells' guys and go from there. And you're supposed to meet up with a guy named Captain Alex Hawthorne, and Wells gives Hawthorne coordinates as to where to meet up with you. Unfortunately, Hawthorne is exactly at that spot, and your escape pod smashes him and kills him.
Yep.
Which I thought was a pretty good intro to the humor in this game. It was like, oh no, you crushed Captain Hawthorne. He took it too literally.
Yeah, literally right where the beacon was, where the ship was going to land.
Mm-hmm. And then Wells was like, all right, well, whatever. He's kind of dumb. Obviously, so whatever, we can make do without him. And he kind of gives you some guidance from afar as to what to do. And so what you do is you end up taking over Alex Hawthorne's identity to kind of continue your mission. You go to Alex Hawthorne's ship, and the ship is AI. It's named Ida. And she's talking with you, and she's like, oh, I can't take orders from anyone except Captain Hawthorne. Are you Captain Hawthorne? And you're like, no. And she's like, let me ask you again. Are you that? And you're like, oh, yeah, I am. And she's like, okay, thanks, Captain Hawthorne. I'm glad you're back. remember to
Yeah.
be careful next time, kind of thing. And you're like, okay, sounds good. And you find out that you need a power regulator for your ship, because your new ship, when it made its landing, was hurt some on the way down, and also illegally landed. So all of the planets have certain places you're allowed to land your ship. Otherwise, you could be subject to fines or being attacked or whatever. Also, your ship is called the Unreliable, which is really funny.
Yeah. Lots of little dry, points of humor in this game.
Yeah.
This is one of those, for sure.
Yeah, I liked on your loading screens where it's surprisingly, the Unreliable takes flight.
Yeah.
Again, that's just what the humor is like through this game. You get little things like that literally the whole time on your loading screens when you interact with people. That's just sort of the vibe this game has, which is fun.
Mm-hmm.
So from here, you head into the nearby town to find out where you can get this power regulator. You meet with a guy named Reed Thompson, who is the leader of this town, and ask about this power regulator. And he lets you know, well, we have 2 power regulators. One's in our town. We need it. There's another one that's outside of town. And I actually have some workers that are supposed to work here on this planet, working in our Saltuna factory, and they abandoned their posts. So I would like you to go just steal theirs, and you can divert all the power to the factory so that our planet can, keep being productive, and the board will keep us as a planet and company for them. From here, you go out and start to explore the city. You meet Pervardi when you do this. She is the mechanic here, and so Reed is she could help you with the power regulator kind of thing. And so you meet her, and she's just this super positive mechanic who's kind of country and just innocent, basically.
Yeah, and I forget. Yeah, she learned about being a mechanic from her dad.
Yeah,
as well, who I think is dead. I can't remember. Pretty sure he's dead.
Yeah, I think he's dead as well.
Yeah. So this is. Do you have to get her as a companion? Do you know?
I think you have to have her help you on the beginning of the mission, at least. Because you end up going with her out into where the deserters are. You talk with them, and ultimately you can steal the power supply thing from out there where they are. That's keeping their camp afloat. And you end up actually getting your kind of first major decision in the game. And these happen occasionally through it, but this was one where it was very noticeable, which is you can either redirect the power all to the town like you were asked to, or you can take it away from the town and redirect it towards the deserters. Which I redirected it towards the town, and then I used my time with the deserters to try to convince all of them to go back, which I think all of them ended up being willing to, except for the leader, who did not like me and just stayed out there, and I assume died.
Yeah, I think that's what I did as well. Yeah, it seemed better to divert it to the town because there's more people living there, and it was safer than the whatever colony they had out there.
Right.
So it seemed like just the best case solution, get everyone back in the town and doing stuff together again.
Yeah, I thought so too. And I guess also this gives you an intro of outside of the town, there are a bunch of bandits everywhere, so it's pretty dangerous out there. And then also there's raptidons, which kind of look like dinosaurs that spit venom from Jurassic Park.
Yeah. They're hard to kill. Well, they can be hard to kill, especially for a rando townsperson. They'd be destroyed.
Oh, yeah. I think, for your average person, living up in the colonies, it could be a mess. And also what you kind of see in this is the town is like a really majorly suffering colony. They're destitute, they're super poor, they don't have a lot of food, all of that. But it's they're basically doing what they have to. You even, to me at least, I didn't think that Reed Thompson was even bad necessarily. It seems like he was just kind of, I'm the guy in charge, so I got to deal with what's going on.
Yeah, that's how I felt too. I mean, you start to see pretty quickly like the board isn't too great most of the time. Mm-hmm. So they were essentially being underfunded because they weren't producing things. So Reed Thompson's motivation was to make in Saltuna again or producing things, so the board would support them and give them money.
Right.
So, yeah, they're all about productivity and money. So if you're not making money, you're not productive. You're kind of cut off. So it does seem like he was just doing what he felt like he had to do to keep people alive.
Right. And for him too, it's not like he gets replacement workers when these ones walked off. It's just their productions, those man hours are gone, so to speak. And also that even like the equipment at the factory and stuff, it's like they won't give us new ones, so we just got to like keep making what we have last, which was a key role, it seemed like, for Pervardi and her dad, of like keeping things afloat longer because they could keep repairing things and stuff. So it's not a great situation to really be in. So yeah, I felt like it was like I didn't want to take from the town. It was like I feel like kind of just doing what they have to. And like the deserters, especially the boss of the deserters, like I get why she was upset, but it seemed like she was like, yeah, just unwilling to really work with it at the town. Like she just wasn't going to do it. But I was able to convince everyone else to go back, and so like I did their little missions they wanted done so that they could feel good about going back to town and working. So it was like that seems like the better thing. Like if most people will try to make this work back in town, like that seems good.
Yeah.
Cool. And the last really major thing that can happen here is so you can recruit Pervardi here. You work with her before this, but then you can basically be like, I need a mechanic on my ship. Do you want to come? And she'll say yes. You can also recruit Vicar Max here. He is the preacher, basically, in this town, but has since you're starting to give up faith in the higher meaning, I think is what they call it.
Yeah, I forget what they call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's their version of God, essentially. But yeah, I forget what they call it and what they think about it.
Yeah, because they talk a lot about like the plan and like the architect or like things like that, sort of, where it's like, they believe God made all the things in the background or whatever sort of deal. So that's what he is, and he's like sort of like a wild card of a preacher because he is also like looking for forbidden religious text because he's like, if I could crack the code, like, but that would be really big into understanding like the universe and philosophy and stuff. So that's like what he kind of is like. And then you can also get Sam here as well because you can have Pervardi fix him on the ship. So 3 potential companions to get right away at your first planet. Once you resolve this, Phineas Wells sends you to Groundbreaker, which is a ship, a really big ship in space that is outside of the board's jurisdiction, but works kind of with it. So they're interesting. They're neutral. Like the board is like leader over all of the other planets you interact with, but Groundbreaker is sort of this independent, a free state, so to speak, that is within still the galaxy here together, where they're all like still like trade and all of that stuff.
Yeah, it's like the Switzerland of the Outer Worlds.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of a unique second place to go to. And the reason Wells sends you here is you need to talk to Gladys to get a nav key to go to Monarch. And so a nav key is basically a landing authorization, and Monarch is the capital city. Wells wants you to go there for something, so you've got to stop by Groundbreaker to be able to get this to happen. While you're on Groundbreaker, you meet Junlei Tennyson. She's the leader of Groundbreaker, and her like grandma was the leader and like main mechanic for this place, and then her mom was, and that got passed down to her now ultimately. And Pervardi has a big crush on her.
Yeah.
And that storyline is great. We'll end up talking more about it later, but Pervardi's immediately excited and shy because she's like knows of Junlei Tennyson from like being really into mechanic stuff, and she's like, oh my god, it's her, I can't believe I'm meeting her. And then it's like, oh my gosh, she's so cute too. Like it's kind of all of that.
Yeah, she's like a famous mechanic in the mechanic world.
Yeah,
which is Pervardi talks about it all the time.
Yeah, like Pervardi, before you meet her, is so excited. Like, oh my god, her! Like, she's so big in mechanic stuff. Like, you look up to her, and then she meets her, and all of that. So that was cool. Basically, your time here on Groundbreaker is doing various jobs to save up money for this nav key, because it cost quite a bit of money. I think it cost like $10,000 or whatever.
Yeah, it was enough that it was kind of. I remember when they first told me the total. I was like, what? I have like 1% of that. So it was enough that it seems kind of daunting.
Yeah, it was a lot, and it made you do a lot of like side quests and stuff like that to be able to buy it. I found out because I was trying to look up something related to this chapter where I think I got stuck or confused because I didn't want to like kill someone if I wasn't supposed to. And yeah. I found out that you can actually just not buy the nav key and park really far away on Monarch in a dangerous area. So I ended up doing that and saving my money.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that, actually.
Yeah, there's like a side on like the opposite side of Monarch where there's like a landing pad you can do, but then there's just like raptidons and marauders and shit everywhere, and they're all way higher level than you, so you can just get killed pretty easy.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely ended up going there at some point. Yeah, I didn't know you could do that before.
Yeah, I ended up doing that, and then I like tried to fight them for a minute, and it was like, they're clearly way better than me. So then I just ran all the way to Monarch and just ran past everyone and just did it like the cheap way of like...
Yeah, coward's way out.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, just ran by everyone. But save up money for this nav key, get to do side quests, more time at Groundbreaker. Also, you can recruit 2 companions here. You can recruit Ellie. She's in the medical wing, and you can do a side quest for her that will ultimately let you invite her into your group. And then Felix also, you meet him, I think right away, because he's basically like, hey, you've got a ship. I'd like to, go on adventures. Could you use me, basically? And you can be like, yeah, sure, come aboard. So your crew is getting bigger. You're experiencing more of what Halcyon is at this point. You've gone to 2 places and have done numerous side quests and saved up money and all of that. So I would say at this point you've actually gotten to do a fair amount and are starting to kind of understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's also worth noting too, you can kind of jump around to these planets in the Groundbreaker kind of whenever you want to, for the most part. I think there's some that you can't get to until you get farther in the story, but once you've unlocked all of them, you can kind of jump in and out of them, and they kind of make up the overall like open world of the game, which is just cool. So it's not just one giant sandbox, it's multiple small sandboxes that make up the big one.
Yeah, good point. I think even from these like you said, the missions on Groundbreaker, I think some of them may take you to some of the planets we'll talk about in a minute. But I don't remember full on. But so the way we're doing it is definitely hitting up planet by planet with like the main story part. But you can travel back and forth as much as you want. And, there's a lot of side quests to do if you want to. Like, you can really spend a lot of time in this game and in all of the planets. Like, there's a lot to do on each of them.
Yep, definitely.
So from here, you end up heading to Monarch. When you get to Monarch, you meet Nyoka here, and she's your last companion that you can recruit. And she takes you to get to a guy named the Broker to send some data to Phineas Wells. And so with her, you're traveling through Monarch. Outside of the main city, everything's like fucking wild. This is where like all the bandits and raptidons and stuff are higher leveled, and it's craziness. And you get to the broker, you end up having to do some like side missions to ultimately get him to upload the data that Wells needs to him. Along the way, you can complete missions for the Iconoclast and MSI, and you end up needing them to stop using their radio frequencies so that the broker can get his message out to Phineas Wells. And so these two groups, the Iconoclast, are basically like a religious group who's sort of culty, but I don't think they're really bad necessarily, but that's sort of what they're like. And then MSI is the business that's in this planet, and they are no longer certified by the board. So their planet is sort of this weird one that like it exists in the colony, but it's not like Groundbreaker where it's sort of independent and thriving, or doing well and does business with the board. Instead, Monarch is just kind of, well, they're there and like are just kind of trying to make it on their own and do like some black market stuff because you're not legally supposed to trade with them because they got decertified.
Yeah. So there, yeah, I feel like from what I remember, Monarch was kind of the craziest planet. I think there was a bunch of like towns or like buildings outside of main city that were like just totally destroyed. Everyone was dead. Raptidons everywhere, marauders everywhere. It was pretty like, it was pretty fucked up.
Yeah, it was definitely a wreck going on there for this town, and that they were just trying to, or this planet, and they're just trying to. MSI's goal is to be able to get back into the board and like, what can we do to be able to make our planet, stable again, basically, and be a part of the board and everything, the free trade, the trade, and all of that stuff that's going on. From here, you move on to Byzantium, which is basically like the rich planet. This would be like District 1 in Hunger Games, or the capital.
Yeah, it's like where all the people want to get to. Yeah, it's very much like District 1. That's a good comparison.
Yeah, so you like get there and it's totally different. Like for me, I had Pervardi with me, and so she's just like, what is all of this? Like, she feels uncomfortable because it's so different than any other planet she's ever seen or heard of, kind of thing.
Yeah, everyone there's like aristocratic and doesn't work and is entitled. All that.
Yeah. Yep. And why you go there is Wells needs some chemicals that are there to revive the passengers on the Hope. And Wells has figured out that Minister Clark has been hoarding these. And so you're going to go kind of snoop through Wells's files, or not Wells, Minister Clark's files, to be able to find out where this chemical is so Wells can revive the other passengers on the Hope. And you end up sneaking into Minister Clark's house, and you find out that he's basically under house arrest. That Chairman Rockwell, who's the head of the board, has essentially commandeered what Minister Clark does and is kind of doing everything in secret and doing things under Minister Clark's name. So Clark is actually like stuck in his house. He can't leave. He doesn't go into the office and do work. And then Rockwell is just at work, like, doing things in Clark's name, basically. From here, you end up sneaking into the government building, which is called the Ministry of Accuracy and Morale, to get the chemicals. And so you're sneaking through this government facility that you're not supposed to be in. And you find the chemicals, but they're being used on human test subjects who are all kind of in vats, like in Minority Report.
Yeah.
They're kind of like that. And so you can take all of the chemicals, but the human subjects will die. Or you can only take 26% and they won't die. And so for me, when I played, I only took the 26%. Because Wells was like, just get me as much as you can. And I was like, I don't think I want to like kill these people.
Yeah, I can't remember. I probably did the same thing because I was trying to play as good as I could. So I probably also did 26%. but yeah, I forget. Well, I guess we can talk about that at the end of the game. But yeah, I forget what the consequences are if you don't take 100%. Because there's always a trade-off, you know? There's always like...
Right.
They always make it somewhat difficult. There's not like a clear right option, which is... I think they did that pretty well in this game.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I was like, I don't know what's really right here. Definitely a tough choice, for sure. After this, on your way out, you end up speaking to Adjunct Sophia Akende, and she wants you to turn Wells in and gives you a tracker. So she figures out that you've kind of become famous through this point in the game, that you've gone through and done things on these planets and made stuff happen. And so the board has kind of you've gotten the board's attention kind of unintentionally, I guess. And so the board comes to you and is like, hey, if you can bring us Wells, like, that would be really big. We can reward you. And also, we understand if you'd have a hard time turning him in because, you know, he did, after all, you know, free you from being frozen, basically. So they act understanding, but basically try to, like, twist your arm / bribe you into doing what they want. So after this, you end up at Wells' lab. You give him the chemicals you have, and you also can tell him about the tracker if you want, which I did. I told Wells about the tracker that was given to me, and he's like, you should send it. And I was sort of surprised. I was like, oh, really? And he's like, yeah, just scramble the signal. You know, they'll think that you're on their side still. They won't know that you're still with me. But if you don't do it, then they'll think you're bad. So send it, scramble the signal, though, and that'll give me time to basically get my lab ready for them and, you know, ready to fight kind of thing.
Yeah, I definitely told him to. It seemed... At this point, I think you can also just plant it and not tell him. I think that's an option as well. Mm-hmm. But I definitely didn't do that.
Yeah, you can also plant it and not tell him. So if at this point, like, from talking with the board, if they convince you kind of, he's a renegade, he's bad for, you know, Halcyon and all of that, you could be like, okay, I'm going to abandon Wells. I'm going to go with Team Board at this point. You could go that route. But for me at this point, I was like, I've seen the board be bad, whereas, like, the Wells stuff sounds more like conjecture, or like he's not doing what you want, so he's bad. That's how I sort of felt about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he definitely didn't... Like, he doesn't seem bad. I mean, the whole time I was playing this game, I kind of expected a twist at the end where he was kind of bad. And not that the board was good either, but that he wasn't the savior he claimed to be. But yeah, at this point, if you're playing through the game and you think the board is somewhat good, I feel like you'd have to be playing a bad end, or playing as like a bad person in the playthrough to turn Wells in.
Yeah, I think so too, because, like, to me, like, watching how the board is acted, it's like, okay, they clearly don't care about, like, the planets that they don't think are important that much. You know, like Pervardi's planet, we first started there. Like, they're, like, poor and suffering, and the board's like, meh, whatever, figure it out. But then one like Byzantium can exist. It's like, you know, you don't consider all your colonists equal value as people, and so, you know, I don't really want to get behind you.
Yeah, and they were just clearly really corrupt. Even just seeing, like, what was that called? The like Chairman Rockwell and Minister Clark and that kind of stuff. Like, it's kind of like Hunger Games, where District 1, like, maybe pretends to care about the other districts because they serve some purpose, but they don't actually care about them or their people.
Right.
They're only about making money and, you know, protecting how they live. They're definitely not good. They definitely don't care about people. That's you pick up on that even just from some of the ads for some of, like, the items you can buy. Mm-hmm. They're definitely just not. They don't give a shit about any of the people. It's funny.
Oh yeah, on one of the side quests you do, one that stood out to me was the board has a company trying to come up with a diet toothpaste that they can sell, like, really cheap, and the goal of it is to get poor people to, like, use it so that they will eat less food. and like take up less resources. It's like,
Yeah.
But we'll like, pitch it to him as a beauty product. Like, hey, this cheap, affordable beauty product, and you can like have a slim figure and be attractive. And it's like, you're like, this is totally a resource thing to you. You're like, we'll give it away to them basically so that they won't eat so much. Like, it's crazy. They're clearly...
It's also funny it's toothpaste.
Yeah. Yeah, and they have all sorts of like things like that through this game. So yeah, I was like, yeah, not about it. And so you get kind of two different trajectories you can head. So Phineas Wells asks you to skip the Hope to Terra 2. So he comes up with this crazy plan that's basically you'll take your ship there and you'll use your power to power up the ship, and then you'll just like hyper jump it through space. And he wants you to jump it to an area called Terra 2 because that's near enough to his lab that he'll be able to work on the Hope and be able to start reviving its passengers. Meanwhile, after planting the tracking device, Sophia Kende calls you and she says, thanks for doing that. It is kind of scrambled, but we know that was Wells doing that. And so, thank you. We'll get him soon enough. Also, I have a crazy idea for you that I think you should do, which is I want you to skip the Hope to Tartarus, which is kind of the prison planet that exists. So just send them over there. The board's kind of big plan for the Hope is they basically want to throw all the existing passengers on the Hope into space and get rid of them, and then basically freeze people who are alive right now so that they have labor for the future, basically.
Yeah, it's like super fucked up.
Yeah, super bad. It's like, at this point, you're like, the board's fucking evil. Like, I don't know if you could... it does seem hard to side with the board unless you're going, like, pure bad guy. Or, like, maybe, like, a really strict, I follow the law kind of character. Like, if you're like, whatever is legal is what I do, and that's it. Like, I don't know how... Yeah. I don't know how else you choose to follow the board at this point.
Yeah, I guess in one sense I could see if you didn't think that reviving the colonists would help the Halcyon system survive and thrive more, I could see why you would just get rid of them to protect the people that are already there living. That's the only way I think you could justify it. But even it's a stretch, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think that reasoning makes sense. I agree. It's a stretch for sure, like you said. But I could see that maybe is that, like, this will ensure that they at least don't die now or something. But, yeah, still a fucking mess for sure. And so we're going to take a pause in the main story here to talk about our companion quest. As we said before, this game is filled with side quest, companion quest, other types of quests. There's a lot of shit you can do. And so I thought it would be important just to hit up the companion quest, as to me, these are probably the most important quest in my opinion, because they had to do with your crew. These are really the characters you get to know most through the game, I would say, for sure.
Yeah, and I definitely actually didn't do all of these. I think I did half of them.
Okay.
Well, I guess... I think you have to do Ellie's to get her, don't you?
Yeah, several of these ones you have to do them to get them, so... And then some of them have more quests, so... I guess we'll just kind of start running through them. And I guess with this, too, these, of course, aren't chronological. You could do these whenever you want, basically, once you meet them. But so Vicar Max, he first asks you to find a banned book on his, like, quest to figure out, like, the system behind the universe or whatever. And you get it for him, but then it's in French, which he can't read. So then you go after...
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. So then you go after the guy that told Vicar Max about the book and harass that guy, and you find out that he took it from a hermit on another planet when he was, like, raiding, basically. So you go to the hermit, and you end up going on a vision quest, basically. So you end up... I don't know if you actually do this or if it just seemed that way, but you basically, like, take mushrooms and trip and have visions.
Yep.
And Max's mom ends up being in the vision and, like, talks to him about stuff. You and your other companion can also see this, so it's like a shared, I don't know, vision quest experience. And Max basically realizes that, trying to find like meaning behind the universe was wrong. You can't figure it out. Instead, life is random and you need to like live with it in the moment, basically, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, this is one of the ones I definitely did. It was really funny when he got the book and couldn't read it. That was
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah, that was funny. He was pissed. And then for Sam, the only mission you have with him is you need to find some parts and then install them in Sam. So pretty low key there. Next up is Pervardi. So her missions surround her crush on Junlei. So first you take her out to the bar and talk to her about her crush. And Pervardi expresses like she's never drank before, so she's like doesn't know what she's doing anyway, and is kind of a like if you were drinking with your lightweight friend and then they just start telling you everything. That's basically what this is.
Yep.
And you can choose to, respond to her in a variety of ways. I always chose the nice ways because that's how I played my character. So, I was pretty nice and affirming to her, and she's like, oh, I like Junlei, but, like, how could she like me? She's this, like, notable mechanic, and I'm me, and, just being like, no, you're cool. And she also brings up being asexual. So she's, like, romantically attracted to Junlei, but she's like, yeah, I've had, like, boyfriends or girlfriends, it seemed, in the past before, but like I don't like sex kind of thing. So you get this sort of background on her, and I would say just build more rapport with her, which is cool. Later on, you have another side quest with her where she asks Junlei out, and Junlei says yes. And you get some interaction before this where they're like sending each other like mechanic poetry, which is funny.
Yeah, it was so lame.
Yeah, it's like it's really lame, but it's like cute because it's them, but it's totally lame. It's great. Then you help her get like all the things she needs for a perfect date. So you have to like fly to a certain planet to get like a cake. You fly to another place to get clothes for her, and all of this stuff. You basically do a bunch of side quests so that she can have the perfect date with Junlei, and you get all that stuff, and she does, and it's really great. So that's Pervardi's side quest. I would say also for me, when I was at the bar with Pervardi and she's like talking about how she has a crush on Junlei, that's where I bought into the game. I was like, okay, this game is good. I like this game. Just her like, I don't know, going over all of that. That's where I was like officially in, personally.
Yeah, I was already pretty into the game, but this definitely made me like Pervardi the most. And I think from what I remember, out of the companion side quests I did, hers was the most enjoyable and longest.
Yeah.
But it felt like the most personal side quest, companion side quest. There were other ones were definitely personal because they involved the characters and something they wanted, but this one felt like the most like I'm actually helping her out in some actual way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought so too. Hers, I think she had the best quest as well, side like companion quest for sure. There was another one that we'll get to in a second that I liked a lot, but I thought hers was quite good. Next up is Ellie's quest. So first she's after this acquaintance she knows who's on the run from the board, and you end up resolving her debt with this person, and Ellie's then able to join your crew. And you find out that Ellie's basically like I don't like owing anyone anything, so I want to like, if I'm ever in debt, I want to get out of debt as fast as possible so that I don't owe anyone anything. Like, pretty like transactional in her, I don't know, relationships with people, and is basically like, yeah, I want to be even all the time, and like I want to be able to do what I want.
Yeah, so even when you recruit her, she makes a bunch of points about how like she doesn't owe you, and if she does, she's, her coming on board is paying off how we got her debt wiped away, that kind of stuff.
Yep. Exactly. And then the next quest you can do for her is you visit Ellie's parents who live in Byzantium. So this is funny. Turn of events is her parents are District 1, right? They're the rich people. And Ellie's a rich kid who's like on full rebellion and has decided to be like an outlaw medic because fuck my parents, like, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is funny. But when you get to her parents to kind of go gloat and be like, she wants to take you there and be like, look at what a rough crowd I run with. Like, I'm rugged and so are my friends. That's kind of her goal. But when you get there, you find out that her parents claimed her as dead when she went, missing 5 years ago when she just like ran away from home. And they use the money that they get from her life insurance to like make their house nicer. They stopped working, like all of this stuff. And they're like, oh, like you're here. Like, don't let the neighbors see. Like,
It's really fucked up.
yeah, they're fucking douchebags. And so you have this kind of conversation and you have, for me, like, because of how I played, I'm like, Ellie, they're assholes. Like, you're fine as a person. You don't need them kind of thing. And she's like, again, still her. She's like, no, transactional. Like, all right, we got to get them back. And so you can help Ellie basically reroute the money for her life insurance policy to go to her. So she's still dead. Her real name is something that's not Ellie. I forget what it is. But you change it to is Ellie as the recipient of it. And so you go and make that happen. And she's able to get money, the money that's hers that her parents were claiming.
Yeah, great. Stick it to him.
Then Nyoka, and her quest is she's basically looking for closure. She had an old team that she ran with. She wants to put them to rest in their old base. So she had a crew of like 6 people who were like mercenaries like her, and they just like were like a family and like fuck shit up together, made bounties, had a base, were close together, all of that. But unfortunately, they've all been killed since in the last year or so or something. And so what you do is you go and get closure for this. So 2 of them had kind of run off. And so you go and try to find them. You find out they're dead. You take their medallions. You then have to head back to their old base, which was taken over by the Manta Queen and like other monsters, basically. And so you have to kind of kill your way through the base. And then you're able to finally, like, lay everyone to rest, leave all their medallions there, and, like, complete her quest.
Yeah, I think this is another one I did. You actually have to do this to get her, don't you?
You have to do some of it.
Okay.
You don't have to do all of it, but I think you do have to do a part of it to get her.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely remember going and killing the Manta Queen and all that stuff.
Yeah. I liked this quest. I thought this one was pretty good. I was into this one, like, that she cared about her team and, like, wanted that resolved. Like, I thought that was cool. I enjoyed this side quest. And then, lastly, Felix's quest is you do a bounty on this, like, wannabe revolutionary. It's someone that, like, Felix, like, looked up to, and you find out that they're basically, like, lame, and they're, like, sellouts to the board, I think, and stuff like that. So Felix is disappointed. His hope was, like, misplaced in thinking these people were cool and were, like, gonna start a revolution, when really it's, like, it's the same shit. They're just acting differently.
Yeah, I don't think I did his. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I didn't do his.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay, those are all the companion quests. Now we'll jump back into the main storyline. Main storyline, you head to the Hope. And so you repower it. And on your way to repowering it, you have to destroy some like security robots that are on the boat. Or on the Hope.
The boat.
It's basically a boat. It's like a freight.
It is. It's a space boat.
Space boat. But yeah. And so then you have your definitive moment. Where will you skip it to? I skip it to Terra 2, like Wells asked me, because fuck the board.
Yeah, I did the same.
Yep. And once you do this, you end up receiving a distress message from Wells. And he's like, oh man, the board came in with me with more than they had, like, over and out, basically, like, kind of rough. So you head to Wells' lab, and you find it ransacked. But when you're going through his stuff, you find a file on his computer that's kind of his, like, last will and testament sort of thing. And it's like, they're taking me, if this is your character, like, come save me. The galaxy's in your hands if you can't save me, kind of thing. You talk to your crew and are like, we got to go save him. They're like, yeah, we do. And they get on board and they're down. So you head to Tartarus, that you're going to go to the prison city to break him out. And when you get there, for me, some soldiers from Groundbreaker also show up to help, which was cool because I had a good relationship with Groundbreaker. So they were in on this attack, which was cool. You fight your way through the prison, killing a bunch of people.
Yeah, badass.
I end up finding Chairman Rockwell, and he's like talking shit, so I just killed him.
Yeah, I killed him as quickly as I could too.
Yeah, it was funny because it was supposed to be like this like standoff discussion, and I was like, nah, I'm just gonna kill you. Like, I've killed my way here so far. What makes you think I won't kill you?
Yeah, that's. I don't even know if I said much to him. I think I just killed him.
Nice. Then Sophia Kende has Wells and gets you in sort of like a standoff position, but then you kill her and free Wells. You don't have to kill either of them, but I killed them. At this point, I was like, fuck the board. I'm going to kill everyone on the board kind of thing. If you're on the board, you don't get to live.
Yeah, that's reasonable. They've been shitty this whole time.
Yeah, that was basically my thought, is you've been oppressive this whole time. Like, if we were to try to reason with you, I feel like you would try to like slip back into doing the same shit, basically. So
yeah, definitely.
I was like, we're not going to build a new future with you guys. Sorry, you're done. And so then this game has a variety of endings that can really go. So we'll run through the two main ones. Yeah, there's two, I guess, main endings, but then each ending has a lot of variations it could have. So this is not all-encompassing at all, but the two basic endings. The first one is the side with Wells endings. And what happens is Wells is able to wake up some of the Hope scientists, engineers, stuff like that. I guess that the ship you were on was full of a lot of the Earth's capable people. So, Wells is able to wake some of them up, and the colony is on the verge of collapse, right? It's been a fucking mess the whole time you've been playing this game. And you also can't go back to Earth. They haven't heard from Earth in a long time, and even if you tried to take your ships back, they wouldn't, make it. So you have to, just try to make it work here. They band together and try to save Halcyon. They say, the people of Halcyon were... This is a quote. So in the epilogue, you get, a lot of stuff read to you, which is pretty interesting. But it says this, and I think just quoting it word for word is good enough. It says, the people of Halcyon were nothing if not hardy. In the absence of the board's authority, many of the colony settlements banded together with a single purpose in mind: survival. Life was especially hard in the years to come. Some towns dissolved by attribution and starvation, but most of them found a way to carry on. In the years that came, Halcyon was forced to reckon with its newfound freedom. The board was gone, and for better or for worse, the colony was responsible for its own destiny. So, yeah, this is the ending I got, and felt like cool. We're getting a second chance, and let's see if the colonies can make it. Basically.
Yeah, that's the ending I got too. It definitely feels hopeful. It's not as happy as I would have expected, but it's realistic and seems like things going in a good direction, like you had said. It's it's a pretty good ending.
Yeah. There's a part in this ending that's funny too, where it's the people at Byzantium, even some of them were forced to have jobs.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah, for real. Now, okay, the board ending, this would be if you end up siding with the board. What happens is Phineas Wells ends up going to Tartarus anyway, except instead he has, I think, Sophia Kende or Chairman Rockwell as a hostage instead. So he's like, oh, I'm going to free all the prisoners and we're going to fight the board, is sort of how that goes. So the endings here, it says, so the riots in Tartarus end with a total victory for the board. Without any threats against their power, The board asserted their control over the colony. The lifetime employment program begins immediately, and the people of Halcyon do exactly what was expected. They obeyed. Akende converts the lab. So she throws the original colonist out, like they planned to, and makes a storage facility. It says here, one by one, the workers of Halcyon surrendered themselves to the program. They arrived with their families and their friends, their colleagues and their neighbors, and then, one by one, they marched into the stasis chambers. As workers from Halcyon slept in hibernation chambers, their settlements became ghost towns, left behind by the board to be reclaimed by nature. Only Byzantium remained, a shiny beacon of a civilization otherwise abandoned colony. The people of Byzantium spent their life gorging themselves on their stockpile of resources. As the workers of Halcyon, they never felt the effects of the collapse. They never felt anything at all.
Yeah, so bad, sad ending.
Yeah, very, very doomsday of that they're just frozen in time, like you were before the game began.
Yep, and presumably to probably never wake up because it looks like shit's just gonna end.
Yeah, it seems like Byzantium will just live in pleasure until they die, and then the people frozen in space will remain there. So, real bad.
Yep, not much hope there.
No, not at all. We've got a little bit of feedback from people I asked about what their endings were. Andrew on Twitter said he sided with Phineas. So, yep, same.
Yep, me too. Brockers on Reddit said I was on the board side until they asked me to genocide an entire town, so I turned on them. My motivation was entirely based on making as much money as possible. My ending was made up of various morally dubious choices, such as doing whatever Sublight asked me of me and wiping out the iconoclasts. So kind of maybe more on the bad, I guess, quote-unquote bad play style. I don't know.
Yeah. Also, the ending recaps we gave are short. You actually get one for each of the planets and actually even each of your companions. So your endings can really vary. There's one quest that with the iconoclast where you steal this super weapon and you can give it to the iconoclast and they kill MSI, or you can give it to MSI and they kill the iconoclast. And I got it, but I didn't give it to either because I didn't want them to kill each other. And then they just all died because they killed each other. So
I think that's what I did too. I don't remember.
Yeah, I thought I was doing a good thing, but ended up being a bad one. So
oops.
Yeah. Lastly, Fussero on Reddit says, I can't remember the details, but I woke up the crew of the Hope and started working on the food crisis. So same as us. Again, working on the food crisis, trying to figure it out. So that's the Outer Worlds itself. So from here, we'll move into some general thoughts. One thing, I guess actually, first is I thought this was a cool game. I enjoyed it. I did a lot of side quests. I ended up spending quite a bit of time in the game doing a lot of different stuff, and found it pretty engaging. I enjoyed my time a lot with this game. Definitely good stuff.
Yeah, same. It was a very fun game. There was some things I had issues with, not crazy ones. I'll talk about those in a little bit, but yeah, overall, I also did most of the side quests, explored as much as I could, and really enjoyed the game. To me, it felt a good mixture of Borderlands and Mass Effect. You got some the dry humor, Borderlands. Also, some of the combat felt like that, and then some of the companion system and sci-fi-ness of Mass Effect. Mm-hmm. So to me, that felt like a mixture of those two games, which I thought was really, really cool.
Right. Both games are first-person shooter style, right? Mass Effect is that way, right?
No, that's third.
Mass Effect is third, but Borderlands is first.
Yeah, okay. Borderlands is first person for sure.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, for Mass Effect, I was like, is it? I don't remember. Since we played that a year ago, so it's a little fuzzy.
Yeah. It might be third and first, but I definitely remember playing in third person.
I think you're right. Maybe you can choose, and I played in third also. Yeah, I generally prefer third person in games. But,
same.
But whatever. This was fine. It wasn't, but it didn't take away anything from me playing it in first person. I just had to get used to it after a little bit. But it was good. I guess on your topic with Mass Effect, something I liked in this game is that there weren't romance options. I know in sometimes games with like companions and all of that, you can have romance options, and I really like playing Pervardi's wingman way more than having a romance personally. I thought that was cool and like, yeah, I was just about that, so I thought that was a good move here.
Yeah, that was cool. This is my personal opinion. I think romance and stuff like that, they can take away from the main story and kind of what I like about these games, which is like exploring, getting loot, shooting things, finding the lore.
Mm-hmm.
So I think sometimes, yeah, like the relational aspect, relationship stuff, I think can kind of distract from some of that. But like you said, yeah, helping Pervardi, that felt way more like a side quest. Well, I guess it was. It felt way more like I was progressing the story and helping a companion as opposed to this was just something that's added into the game just because.
Yeah.
So I definitely like that too.
Yeah, I think that like I think romance in a game, I think I would rather it be like it's just canon. I think I'd rather have that than choosing it. You know, like choosing a character to like try to date or whatever. I think I'd rather it just be like these characters date and you just kind of play with that in mind. Like I think I'd rather it be less of a choice, I think.
Yeah, that's fair. I just don't particularly care that much about it either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I generally just skip those parts if it's a choice. But
Sure.
yeah, I just overall really liked the board. I mean, the board sucked, but I liked how they just made it so much about like people were just resources to make money. There wasn't like a real government. It was all just controlled by the board, this conglomerate of companies that were all about making money. So I liked the humor that came along with that, and I also liked bringing down the board. I think it just became a really cool, like the board just became a really cool bad guy, like this evil idea that was enjoyable to like fight against and take down. I really liked that. There wasn't like a main bad person that was you're fighting against. It was like this idea, this like government, I guess, but it's not really a government group of people. I think that was well done.
Yeah, I liked capitalism turned up to 100. That's your enemy.
Yeah.
Is hey, what if we let capitalism go as far as it could go? Let's say that instead, the board members, the most powerful companies, they're actually the one that lead our country. Because I mean, come on, like that's what they like put forward, and you're like, oh, it's a shit show, and they like fuck over most people. Yeah, let's fucking kill them. Like,
yeah, surprise.
Yeah, so I thought that was, I thought that made for a good or interesting adversary. As instead of like, even like Chairman Rockwell, it was like he was less of a character and more of just the guy who led the board, which was good. I think just that like the board is bad, the board is our enemy. Like I thought that was great.
Yeah, definitely. I liked it not being one person that was bad. It was the idea. I think that was something different than games I'd played before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. One thing I didn't like in this game, which I realized is just a thing I don't like in general, but it took this game making me realize it, is I don't like custom creating characters. I'm not interested in that at all. Like, at the beginning when I was having to like choose a name, what does my character look like? All of that stuff, choose my attributes and any of that. I didn't like doing that, and it made me realize, oh, I just don't like that as a thing. I would far rather have it assigned. And so when I assigned mine, I basically went pretty generic. I made a character and made it what they look like, so I just made a character that looked like Max Caulfield and called her Max. Because
Nice.
that's I've realized that's what I do if I have to make a character, is I just make it Max. But I don't like having to do it. I would far rather have a character that's assigned, and however they're like is what they are. And then I chose like a normal disposition or whatever. I didn't choose being good at anything. I just chose normal and was like, I don't know what I'll like, so I'll just start here. Like, I don't know. I'd way rather have this assigned. Custom creation is not for me. I know a lot of people like it, but this game made me know, yeah, that's not my shit. I'm not into it.
Yeah, I actually really like this kind of stuff. So this is right up my alley. Yeah, give me as much RPG elements as you can. I'll take them. But this kind of goes into something I was not super happy about. But like, to me, like, you custom create a character, what they look like, all this stuff. But since there's no third-person view, you never see yourself.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of pointless to me to make, like, custom create character. Like I get like the attributes and stuff. I think that's just necessary for an RPG. Well, one like this, it's not in all of them. But like, yeah, designing how your character looks seems kind of totally useless if you can't see your character ever. So to me, I would have liked to have a third-person view. One, because I like to see what it looked like, and I like to see what like stuff I'm wearing and things like that. But then two, to me, it just kind of made the creation useless, you know? So I wish they would have made a first and third-person option, like some RPGs do nowadays. That would have been cool.
That's true, because then I guess it's just what you're wearing in your menu screen when you like go there. You could see yourself. That was something too, actually. So in this game, you wear like armor and a helmet and stuff like that. So you can make it where you can't see yourself. Like I am, I played the whole game without giving Pervardi a helmet because I was like, well, you should show your face still, even though it would probably be better for you in fighting to have a helmet. I was like,
well, I think they had an option where you could turn off helmets. Like you would still wear it, but you wouldn't.
Oh,
it wouldn't show it. Yeah, a lot of games do that.
That's good. I missed that. That's definitely better. It seems sort of stupid to like. Even for the armor, I feel like you should wear clothes that look cool, even if like. I don't know if they're gonna let you choose the clothes. Like I was wearing like bulky ass armor. Like I just got whatever the heaviest armor I got, I wore that, and so I look like someone from Halo basically the whole time. And it was like,
yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah, which looks fucking cool. But like if your character's supposed to look, you know, if you want how your character is supposed to look, you could probably look way different and look cool, you know? Like,
yeah, true.
Like, I don't know, if they're just going to be armored the fuck up, why did I have the option to like know what they look like even? But also, yeah, I guess any of my criticisms here is like, this isn't my shit, so, you know, I should be disregarded first. People who care more about it should certainly have their opinions listened to before me.
Yeah, fair enough. My last very general thought on this is I really liked this was just like a standalone title. The original idea, totally different. I thought it was really cool, like in a game world or video game culture, I don't know, where there's a lot of series which are really good that I enjoy a lot, and a lot of remakes. It's really refreshing to me when there's a game like this that's just totally new, totally different. It's not based on anything. It's just someone creative just made it. It's standalone. I really enjoyed that about this game.
Yeah, I like that too. I think when new IPs come along, that's a good thing. Like, I don't know, it's easy for things to, like, series to go on, and like if it's a series I like, then of course I want more of it, but like it's cool when something new shows up. I agree. I had two last thoughts. One is the loading screens in this game were really bad. They took so long, and they did have fun advertisements on them, which was good. That helped out, especially in the beginning of the game. Is, you know, each advertisement that would show up were new, and they'd have something funny like diet toothpaste or, you know, info about the world and stuff. But they took a while, and like partway through the game, once I'd visited everywhere, I did like a ton of fast travel. So it would be like, you know, do a thing, fast travel, play on my phone for like 5 minutes, come back, do the thing real quick, fast travel again. You know, like there are parts where it was rough, and I'm not normally one to even complain about that stuff. I don't really care. Like I'm like, whatever, it's a game. It's got to do what it's got to do. It's fine. But this one was noticeable enough that I was like, I don't like that. I wish this was better. So
yeah, that was annoying. I totally agree. The loading screens were way too long, and then after a while, you've seen all of them before, so they're not that interesting.
Yeah, that hurt by the end when I was like having to use them a lot and like fast traveling everywhere and stuff. I was just like, ugh, I have to keep like. I have to keep seeing these. Like, it's not fun anymore. So not great. I hope that that's something that's better for like people in the future that play it. Like if it gets upgraded for PS5 or Xbox Series X or whatever. Like I hope that stuff gets fixed and they're shorter or less frequent or whatever.
Yeah, that would be nice for sure.
Yeah. And, last comment is thoughts from Player One, who were on a recent episode with me. They did an episode on Outer Worlds. Definitely go check that out if you're looking for more Outer Worlds. I think that they liked the game less than we did, so if you want some of those takes, they would definitely have them, or maybe different theories on stuff. So definitely recommend it. I'm looking forward to listening to the episodes now that we've done ours. So check them out for sure. And yeah, I guess from here we'll jump into some listener feedback of what other people thought about Outer Worlds in general. First up, we've got Tom on Twitter who says, my expectations were too high, and they shouldn't have been. I was expecting New Vegas in space, which is a far cry from what this game was trying to achieve. I loved the characters and the dialogues, but many aspects of it felt lackluster to me. It's a good game, and it shows what Obsidian can be capable of. I just wanted more out of it. So, liked it, but was hoping for more.
Yeah, and that's fair. I mean, I think if it was more like New Vegas, I would have been way happier. But I enjoyed it for what it was.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. We got Mike on Twitter, said, I'm conflicted. It has Mass Effect vibes, but only one companion is really as interesting as a BioWare character. It has Fallout New Vegas vibes, but the mission, structure, / choices don't feel as broad or dynamic. It has the corporate satire, but I'm not sure what their quote-unquote point was.
Okay. So, for Mike, it sounds like it did bits of things, but it never quite went there for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dave on Twitter says what Cyberpunk 2077 should have been. Easily one of the best critiques of corporatism I've seen in a game. Yeah, I guess for me, I don't know how many games I've played that critique corporatism, but I thought this did do a good job, like we were saying earlier, is I felt they were like, yeah, this is what capitalism at the end of itself is. So, yeah, this shit sucks. It's not good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, on 10, it's really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Nikki on Twitter said, I'm not far into it yet, but I love it. It feels like the brilliant love child of Mass Effect and Bioshock with a hint of Fallout, and therefore it's amazing. The characters are great, the whole look of the game is great, and it's fun. So we got a lover of that, which is great.
Yeah, very good. Connor on Twitter said, I just wish that I'd kept playing it. For some reason, I can't place it. I made it a few hours in before I put it down. It's not that I didn't enjoy it. It's just it didn't quite hook me. Hopefully I'll get back to it someday. I could see that. I feel like if I would have stopped before going to the bar with Pervardi, I think that I could have seen stopping then, potentially. But that was that spot where that hooked me, and that's probably several hours in. So I wonder if Connor was like just before that.
Yeah, that's fair. Cat Lizzle on Reddit said, I'm not very far into the game, but I love it. It has the perfect amount of story and combat to keep me interested. I'm more interested in the story of the game than a ton of fighting, and I always have trouble finding games that aren't mostly combat with a tiny bit of story, but this game is exactly what I've been looking for.
That's great.
Which is awesome. Yeah, great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think that this balanced that well too. It didn't feel like I was just playing a shooter that had a story on the side. But there was a lot of a shooter, like Nikki alluded to with like Bioshock. It does feel in that sort of brand where it's a first-person shooter still, but there's a lot going on. There's a lot of good lore and stuff like that. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Next up, we've got Dulku on Reddit. He said, on first playthrough, I liked it a lot. Upon further play, I realized how much content it was lacking. An Outer Worlds 2 with a bigger budget and more development would have been much welcome, but the first one leaves much to be desired. That's too bad to feel that way. I would be interested in an Outer Worlds 2 and seeing what they would do with it. Like, I think they've got a cool idea, and yeah, I'd play another one.
Yeah, I would definitely play another one too. Cool. We got Warden on Reddit. Says, my favorite thing was the individual planetary stories. I don't think the main quest line was that good. That sucks. I enjoyed all the stories personally.
Yeah. I think I liked all of them too. I did like the planetary stories and like what was going on there as you did a bunch of side quests on one planet for a while. That was fun to kind of see, okay, this is what the vibe is here. Like, that was cool.
Yeah.
Brockers on Reddit said, I really enjoyed how the leveling system worked, how you could customize armors and how smooth combat felt in with a dodge feature. I disliked how, despite all the customization choices, most of them made the same aesthetic changes, rather than unique ones. For example, all the armor kits add the same shimmering silver pattern when each kit should have been a different color. I would have liked perks that allowed for armor specialization to give more reason to wear specific armor types. The clothes being like light, medium, and heavy. That kind of thing.
Yeah, that's fair. I definitely felt like the armor, there's not many unique things. It was all kind of similar. And also, again, it wasn't third person, so I couldn't really see it, so I didn't care as much.
Yeah.
Zacro on Reddit says, story was good, characters were great, and all the endings except the joke one felt anticlimactic. Good ideas let down by lackluster combat, and the story needed more space to grow in the second half. So it seems like we're getting a wide variety of opinions here about like some of the combat and the story and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it seems like different parts resonated with people differently. Like some people liking the combat a lot, but not liking the story, or the opposite. You know, it does seem like there's kind of a range of opinions for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Vito on Reddit said good, but too short. And I was thinking about this, and I guess there's two ways I could see it. One is if you do just the main quest line. I think that's like, I don't know, 10 or 12 hours. So if you were expecting something like New Vegas, that would be like super short, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Way short.
Because New Vegas, I think, I haven't played it, so this would be something you'd know. But I would imagine even if you do the main quest line, it's probably still like 30 hours.
Yeah, it's a huge game.
And then expanding that, doing all the side quests, I'm sure New Vegas is like 60 hours. Or something like
yeah, probably more.
Yeah, 60, 80, 100. Like,
yeah. Something like that.
Yeah, it's like that's pretty big versus this. I think I did almost all of the side quest, and I think I was done in under 25 hours.
Yeah, 25, 30 probably, like something like that.
Yeah, which like, I mean, it's a big game, but it's not like the biggest game, or like it's a decent sized game, I guess, to me, but not fucking enormous like New Vegas, or I don't know, something like Red Dead 2 or Witcher or something like that are kind of known for being big.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder if they'd change that in a sequel or something next that they make.
Yeah, that'd be interesting if they'd make it bigger, maybe add more planets. I don't know.
Yeah, because we'll find out. Wancha on Reddit said, I love the game. It has the vibe of No Man's Sky, with all the vibrant colors and cool creatures, has buildings, loading screens, and tech that reminds me of Bioshock, and several possible outcomes, which makes it replayable more than once. Which I agree. I don't know if they're saying that they like the loading screens, because I didn't, but everything else I agree with.
Yeah. Now we're actually getting to a section where we've got some bigger comments. So, strap in, I guess. So first up, we got Apes Tech on Reddit, who says, my favorite things about the game, the facial animations and dialogue. I've loved watching the animations these characters tried to show concern or anger, etc. I think they did an amazing job with the faces. Dialogue ties into that because I say out of all games I've played this generation, this one is one of the few that had interesting dialogue. Least favorites, a variety. The locations do become samey, as well as the creatures you fight. I feel it's really easy to become a jack of all trades no matter how you play or who you side with. Leveling up plus the flaw system makes it easy, in my opinion, to be good at everything. You can make a dumb character and still be able to succeed at lockpick and dialogue check. Yeah, I think those are good kind of on each side of this, and I thought the dialogue was pretty good in this game too. I did feel like I could see it changing based on how I acted, which was good.
Yeah, the dialogue with interacting with other characters, they did seem pretty responsive to what you were saying and how you were saying it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the voice acting and facial expressions were, I say, they were on point, very good.
Mm-hmm.
Yachtlow, I think, on Reddit, says, favorite things. I'd say my favorite things are the companions in the skill tree format. They had a really they did a really good job formatting the skill tree to be useful while still forcing you to prioritize a bit, and the companions are all individual and have their own ways of making you interested in them. Least favorite. Though I don't have a lot of complaints with the game, there are two things I'll mention, one being more general than anything extremely specific. The first thing is that I wish the game was longer and or had more content. I understand that they had a budget and a tight schedule, so my hopes are that there'll be another bigger sequel. The second one is that a specific part of a quest that I absolutely cannot stand, where you're going on a quote-unquote tour of the colony for the guy in Byzantium, and you have to jump out of the protective bubble on Scylla, interact with something in return without dying. The amount of times I died in that spot, even while using dodging, TTD, and other tricks, is infuriating. I actually don't remember that part, but
yeah, I kind of wonder if I did.
It sounds annoying.
Yeah, I agree. It sounds annoying. I don't know if I did that quest either. But yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, we've got Gerard on Reddit. Says, I liked it on the whole, though the lower budget compared to its competitors shows, mostly in the lack of systems and game complexity. Too few armor variants and likewise weapons stuck out in particular. Reskinning the same few models wasn't enough. Generally, I would say they picked their battles well, doing what they did to a high quality. The Mass Effect micro locale system was a good choice. The armor system could have used more thought. I found it nearly impossible to commit to using anything but heavy armor, because the trade-offs with anything else never added up. I think this might have been due to the way the armor was presented to the player, with one big important number dominating in the UI. At least this problem didn't seem to affect the weapons, as skills could validate any choice, but there was no skills associated to different armor classes. No way to improve the work shirt into something viable, and that reduced the roleplay possibilities. Look at Ballistic Weave in Fallout 4. A simple but valuable idea that makes a whole swath of player builds possible. A skill or perk in the Outer Worlds could have done something similar with a little dev time. They did something tangentially in the Gorgon DLC, where they added a perk to make tools into viable weapons. Given that many of the perks came off boring, it seems like they left a lot on the table in that department. The writing was generally of superior quality. A lot of developers could learn from the example Obsidian set. The branching conversation choices were excellent. I think that last point on the branching conversations, again, I thought that was really good. It was clear that like your conversation could go a variety of ways based on how you responded, because every conversation you had, there's probably like 4 responses, like one really kind, one a dickhead one, and then like 2 other ones. And you could tell that they were going to respond those ways, as opposed to in other games with less like good dialogue trees. They'll basically respond the same way no matter what in other games. This, I think, did that super, super well.
Yeah, I totally agree. I actually had forgotten about that feature, but I remember the dialogue was so good, I think I'd go back through when I had the option, and like I would just go through every dialogue option to hear everything they had to say. So I thought, yeah, they made that really engaging. Last up, Fusro on Reddit said, favorite things about the game: the atmosphere and the writing. Characters were witty, believable, and I was interested in meeting everyone to hear what they had to say. The Firefly meets Fallout quote-unquote vibe was also awesome too, and I was completely on board from start to finish. Least favorite: poor gameplay variety, lackluster emergent storytelling and exploration. While the combat was serviceable, there were far too few enemy types and weapon options. The only exception for weapon variety is possibly pistols, because there's some pretty cool unique ones. Unfortunately, it's borderline impossible to tinker them up to in-game damage numbers. The Outer Worlds did not do a stellar job of encouraging exploration for several reasons. Unfortunately, I have to compare it to Fallout 4, which, for all its faults, made exploration way more fun. For one, Fallout 4 had the crafting system, which meant you had an insatiable appetite for random garbage you find in secondary locations. For 2, there was a little tone-appropriate mini-story told throughout logs, and the environment that was always fun to find, and the Outer Worlds had very little of that. Finally, with some exceptions, Fallout did a much better job of varying the atmosphere, which made different locations feel unique. Other than the Hope and the Roseway map, a lot of the Outer Worlds had a similar vibe. throughout, which isn't a huge complaint since the game is short, but still something that makes exploration less interesting. Overall, The Outer Worlds was my second favorite RPG I played in recent memory. It was first until Disco Elysium, and thought it accomplished everything it set out to. I can't wait to see what they have planned for the sequel, especially since this was a hit and now Obsidian has Microsoft money. For all of Microsoft's faults, they've seemingly given studios the support they need to realize their creative vision. I like that hands-off approach. That's a good point. Now that Obsidian's bought by Microsoft, they should be able to just throw money at really big, cool games.
That's true. I guess that really, if they wanted to, you could probably throw a lot of money at Outer Worlds 2 and make it a Xbox exclusive and potentially rake in some cash doing that.
Yeah.
I don't know if Microsoft is going to go that route or not, but they could, and it might be a good idea.
Yeah, I hope they don't, because I'm probably going to get the PS5, so that would kind of screw me over.
yeah, that would screw me over also. I am going to buy a PS5 someday too, so I hope they don't screw it over. I guess Microsoft could just be like, we'll just own the studios of the games you'll want to play, but we'll put them out everywhere. I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's our listener feedback. That's The Outer Worlds. So yeah, that's the game. If you've got other thoughts on it, hit us up. You can tweet at us on Twitter at StoryEverPod. Our website's TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed.com, where there's a backlog of all of our episodes. If you would like to support the podcast financially, you can do that at patreon.com/TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed. For as little as $1 per month, that will get you access to bonus episodes that we do once a month that hit up on different topics of things like our favorite Pokemon or our favorite games from childhood or The Mandalorian Season 1, stuff like that. So if that sounds like something you'd be into, definitely check that out. If you'd like to help the podcast out but aren't able to financially, if you could rate and review us on wherever you get your podcast, Podchaser, Apple Podcast, whatever, that would be super helpful just in getting this in front of more people that we can enjoy games together more with more people. That would be awesome. And yeah, that's the episode, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.